Shall we start this week with a review?
No.
No?
No.
Okay, let's just start the show.
Goodbye. See you next week.
No, we do have a review. This one says, my favorite podcast. It's from Rosie from the United States of
Hey,
America.
Rosie. From the United States of
United
America.
States of America.
Yes, the United. the
United.
United States of America.
Not the United.
No.
The United.
Right. So it says, my favorite podcast. I don't like listening to many podcasts, but this one is so entertaining, engaging, and hilarious. Definitely my favorite. I love science, and this is a good way to learn more interesting stuff.
Hell yeah.
Well, that was the aim.
That's it. Yeah, we did good.
Mission accomplished,
That's so
boys.
cool that we're some people's favorite podcasts.
That's wild.
Because I love podcasts, and to think that we're the top of the category of podcasts
You
in
have
some
one, Luke.
people's heads.
You have a
is-
podcast.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
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 Shall we start the show?
Yeah.
Thanks, Rosie.
Thanks, Rosie.
Hello and welcome to the SCI GUYS, the show where we talk about the crazy, weird, and wonderful stories from the science world. I'm Corey, and as always, I'm joined by my co-hosts, Jam and Luke Cutforth.
Hi.
Hi.
This week, we're talking about not one, but Tourette syndrome.
Tourette syndrome.
Tourette.
Ah.
Ah.
Fascinating.
You
Yeah.
teased this in the live show recently.
Did I? Oh, I did. I
You
did. Look at that.
Someone asked about Tourette's.
Yeah, they did.
You gave
Cross
a very
promotion.
vague answer.
I did give a vague answer, but here is the real,
Here's the
true
in-depth
answer. You guys know what Tourette's is, right? Roughly?
Yes.
It is a thing where you have tics. That's the short answer.
Like a dog.
Come to the Jump
Like half a
podcast.
clock. Yeah, that kind of. Yeah, that is one facet of Tourette syndrome. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, because it's something much like a few other things we've covered in recent weeks that is kind of not very well represented in the media.
Yeah, I remember the first time I heard about Tourette's, I was watching a documentary that was on the TV, and it was kind of like it was like making light of it, and it was kind of a joke. And was just taking videos of like especially like teenagers in classrooms like shouting out rude things without any stimulus, and it was kind of like made fun of, and it wasn't. I don't think it was actively malicious, because obviously there are people who have Tourette's who find it, who like laugh about it and that find the fun in it or the funny side of it, but it's not necessarily for us, the people without Tourette's, to do that.
Yeah, I agree. That's the thing. And the first time I heard about Tourette's was from South Park, which was actually.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember if it was a really awful representation of Tourette's, but the thing is that you usually see tics being shouting and swearing or saying rude things, and that's not really the full broad spectrum of Tourette's. So that's
Right.
what we're going to be getting into today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Because a tic can be anything, can't it? You can say you're like have any kind of.
yeah, it can be
Physical-
anything. We'll get into that. So, what is Tourette syndrome? It's a neurological disorder characterized by repetitive involuntary movements and vocalizations called tics. So, yeah, like you said, a tic can be anything. It could be any kind of movement or vocalization, which is like using your voice. So, like, that's a vocalization. This, what I'm saying right now, that's a vocalization.
That is.
Anything you do with your voice.
That could be your tic for all we know.
Yeah, it's my entire
If
life
I
has
had
been
Tourette's
is,
one long, very long, complex tic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Corey's tick is actually describing science to people.
Yeah. So yeah, tics are like sudden twitches, movements, sounds that people do repeatedly. It's named actually after Dr. Georges Gilles La Tourette.
So it is a name.
It is a name. He was a French neurologist. So he first sort of described the condition in an 86-year-old French noblewoman. Noblewoman. Yeah, so an 86-year-old French noblewoman was the first person to be diagnosed with Tourette's. And so Tourette is like, it's usually spelled incorrectly. I've seen it spelled a lot of different ways. When I say spelled, I mean more grammatically rather than the actual spelling. I think you should really do it with an apostrophe because it is Tourette's syndrome, as in
Belonging
the syndrome
to Tourette.
belonging to Tourette. Yeah.
Ah.
Out of interest, what were some of the early theories? Do you know about what the early theories of what Tourette's was before they understood it as a medical condition? Was it like being possessed by
I was just
a
thinking
devil or
that.
something?
That would make sense, right?
I mean, Probably. I don't know.
I could totally imagine that. Them being like, "Oh, it's a demon trying to get out."
through you.
Funnily enough, in this science podcast, I didn't research the demons that people thought, like the demons that people were inhabited with.
What? Why not?
Yeah.
Well,
I
we're
don't
not there
know.
with science yet. We can't explain demons.
Yeah. It just didn't seem relevant. But no, that is to be honest, it's probably one of those things where they just assumed that it was hysteria or something, you know?
Mm.
Because hysteria, what's the word when you're possession, that's the word.
Yeah.
Hysteria, possession, anything like that is probably what people thought it was. But no, in 1885, that's pretty early, to be honest. I think to sort of recognize Tourette's as a neurological thing. So there you go, that's pretty good. So Tourette's presents itself in sort of all ethnic groups, males, females, everyone can anyone can get Tourette's. I say get Tourette's. Anyone can be born with Tourette's. You can't just suddenly acquire Tourette's from being around someone with Tourette's. It's not how it works. Actually, some people I think that there are questions. If you Google it, can you catch
contagious Tourette's?
Yeah, can you catch Tourette's? You can't catch Tourette's. It's not something. It's not something like that at
No.
all. But it usually presents itself between the. It starts between the ages of 3 to 9 years old, and it's estimated that about 200,000 people in America have the most severe form of Tourette's, and about 1 in 100 people have milder and less complex systems, like chronic motor or vocal tics. So even though it's it can be like a chronic, like lifetime lasting condition, a lot of people actually get their worst symptoms in early childhood and then kind of grow out of it. So there's improvement in the conditions, and that sort of improvement sort of continues on through their teens and into adulthood.
Oh.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
fascinating.
Is that like a natural calming of it? Or is that like you kind of learn how to like deal with the tics? I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I don't know how to describe it. Like
It
I
could be
don't know.
both. I mean, there are therapies for it, but
Yeah.
but I think overall, people it is worse in childhood, just in
Right.
general. I think even without therapy, it is worse it can be worse in childhood, or the symptoms can be worse in childhood. Yeah. So of all the kids diagnosed with Tourette syndrome, 37% have been reported as having moderate or severe forms. Like I said, boys are 3 to 5 times more likely, 3 to 5 times more likely to have it than girls. So non-Hispanic white children, so basically what you would normally think of as Caucasian white people,
Sure.
are twice as likely to have a Tourette's diagnosis as Hispanic and non-Hispanic black children.
Is that when you use the word diagnosis there?
Diagnosis,
so does that mean
right.
that it's not necessarily more or less prevalent? It's just that it doesn't get diagnosed.
Yeah, supposedly. So this is the thing. Apparently, half of the kids with Tourette's aren't diagnosed.
Right.
Whoa.
And,
Yeah, it's
and it's
estimated.
mild enough that they just get on with.
I guess it's just this is just based on estimates of this is just based on estimates of people that have got it. So there was a study showing that 0.6% of kids have Tourette syndrome, but the CDC reported about 0.3% of kids having a diagnosis for it, which is interesting. So it seems to be quite underdiagnosed.
It's interesting. So I'll say this, and before I say this is not me self-diagnosing with Tourette's, but my mum has always pointed out to me this thing I've had, and I actually haven't been able to stop it until fairly recently, which is that I would involuntarily like bring my fingers to my mouth and like. Well, exactly.
You do that.
So it used to be that I bring my fingers to my mouth and I like lick my fingers, and it was almost like I was like imitating my hamster. Like I was like, I wouldn't like then wash my face, but like I would like my fingers would always feel dry, and I'd feel this urge to like lick them and moisten them, and then it would obviously not help, so I'd carry on doing it forever. And now I have this thing where I tap away on things all the time. I don't think that's a Tourette's thing. I think it's probably a totally different thing. But I do it on my teeth, don't I? And you guys hate it. Everyone hates it. I just
It's so loud.
Yeah.
It's really, yeah.
This year you've got a cheek thing as well. You make like a
A
drop.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
another thing you do.
Yeah.
Why don't we point out all the things that Luke does?
Yeah.
What else
Yeah.
does Luke do?
But yeah, no, I noticed that you had the sort of like,
It's like a
thing.
compulsion. Like
Yeah.
it's just a compulsion. It's not a thing I'm doing consciously. It's like don't know, repetitive action is weird.
Does it feel? I see that's the thing. It doesn't sound like a tic.
No, I don't think it's a tic.
It doesn't sound
like,
but it is
yeah.
interesting that it is kind of similar in that sort of repetitive action.
Mm.
The difference. I'll get into exactly what tics are in a second, but tics kind of apparently it kind of feels like a sneeze coming. You know, a
Or
tic.
like a hiccup. You can't stop.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
doesn't feel anything like that to me.
Yeah, well, you can kind of suppress it, but then at some point it still has to come out.
If
Or
you,
like a sneeze or a cough, you know?
if you focused on it,
Wow.
Luke, could you stop it? Could you stop yourself from doing it?
Yes,
Right. Yeah.
absolutely.
Because I feel like a tick, it would just happen whether you wanted it to or not.
Well, apparently
Yeah.
it's like suppressing a
Supposedly.
cough. So
That's
you
how I
can
imagine it.
like you can feel it coming, you can kind of try and hold it
You
back.
can try. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But then whether you can actually do it or not, I think it's a case of like, okay, if you had a cough,
if it's too
imagine if you had a
strong,
cough
yeah.
and you were like just forcing yourself not to cough all day.
Oh, that sucks. I hate that.
It wouldn't work.
I know that
Yeah.
feeling from school. Just like,
I
yeah.
hate the hiccups. Every time I get the hiccups, I try and stop myself just by
Yeah.
like willpower, but it never works. They usually overcome me at some point. I
Yeah.
imagine that's how
And
a
you
tick
just
is.
Yeah,
It just gets too strong.
it's so frustrating. There's I hate loud hiccups. That's the one thing that
Yeah.
just
I've got loud hiccups.
it drives me nuts. It drives me nuts. But yeah, so white kids are more likely to be diagnosed than black kids. Kids from the age of 12 to 17 are twice as likely to have Tourette's as kids from the age of 6 to 11. And most, and as I said, in most cases, they like the tics decrease in your teenage years through to being an adult. And like I said again, sometimes just completely go away. But a lot of people get tics into adulthood, and sometimes the tics can get worse in adulthood. So one study found that at the age of 18, almost half of the people had been tick-free the week before they were interviewed, and just over 10% had minimal tics, and over a quarter, about 28%, almost a third, had mild symptoms. But then 11 of those had moderate to severe tics. So that kind of gives you an idea of kind of the breakdown of how it changes over time, you know?
Mhm.
So what are the symptoms of Tourette's, Luke?
I assume. I was about to say
Tics.
having Tourette's. Like, are they not quite obvious?
Yeah, no, they are.
Yeah. So, involuntary shouting of things or involuntary movements.
Just tics, yeah. So,
Yeah.
you might have basically people with Tourette's have got both physical and vocal tics. So, examples of tics could be examples of physical tics could be blinking, eye rolling, making a face, shrugging your shoulders, jerking of your head, or like your limbs, jumping, twirling, or touching objects and other people.
Twirling.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so that would be
Wow.
a complex tic. And then there's vocal tics. So that's like grunting, throat clearing, whistling, coughing, tongue clicking, animal sounds, saying random words or phrases, repeating a sound, a word or a phrase, or swearing. And then you can also break tics down into simple and complex tics. So simple tics just involve like a few parts of the body, like squinting or sniffing.
Mhm.
And complex tics usually involve like a lot of different parts and can have like a pattern. So an example of a complex tic would be like bobbing the head while you're jerking an arm and then jumping up,
Wow.
Ah.
That
or like
sounds
twirling. You know,
debilitating.
Like twirling, yeah.
yeah.
To have
Sounds-
something that complex happen all the time. Out of interest, because obviously unless anyone watching, including myself, which I'm not watching, but maybe I'll watch.
You
I
should
don't know.
watch.
I'll watch.
I
Hi,
like-
me.
You don't watch.
The way that we will have been exposed to the idea of Tourette's will often have been like revolving around swearing, saying insults, saying like having generally rude things said, because that's the one that people talk about the most, right?
Mm.
So what I wonder is, and I'm asking because I don't know the question, I don't know the answer, is it more frequent that you get inappropriate tics because you like from a trying to repress it, or is that just what the news and what the media have picked up on?
I think that's what's picked up on because it's interesting. It's interesting to have that.
It's
isn't
kind of
it?
shocking to watch.
Yeah,
isn't it?
exactly. Having someone shout and swear and not be able
Someone
to
who
control
can,
it.
yeah.
But no, that's actually a really small percentage. I don't have the exact percentage here. Oh yeah, I do have the exact percentage here.
Wow.
I knew I did.
You.
I was looking for it as you were talking. No, so swearing only affects about 1 in 10 people with Tourette's. So
Right.
I mean, it's not that many. 10% of 0.6%
yeah.
of the population
yeah.
will be swearing. It's really not that much. But yeah, it's the one that's really focused on, despite the fact that only a tenth of the population, only the tenth of people with Tourette's have those kind of tics.
Because that has caused me to get a very represented view of Tourette's, which that I always came to the conclusion that it was in some way like coming from trying to repress those things makes them sort of
100%.
burst out.
No, so
that's exactly what I thought as a kid, because that's all I saw of Tourette's, and I just thought it was I thought Tourette's was swearing.
Yeah, no, it's not at all.
And just
So
that.
it's literally it could be any kind of tic. You
Yeah.
could say anything, and there's some good. The thing is, if you won't get the full picture from us, obviously, because none of us have Tourette's. I would definitely recommend watching an interview with a few people with Tourette's. Actually, Anthony Padilla did a really good thing on Tourette's recently, which was fantastic, because this is the thing. It isn't just swearing. It doesn't need to be anything rude at all. It could just be like something like that.
Sure.
It could be something that you like. The chances are that you've probably met someone with Tourette's and not noticed it and not known at all.
Yeah, I was I don't know whether it's appropriate to talk about specific situations, but I was sat in my car waiting for some friends the other day, and there was a lady walking along the road, and she was just making a soft kind of like huh noise like every few seconds, like she would, and I was like, it took me a good little while to figure out that that's what was going on. I thought she wasn't okay for a moment, and I was going to go like see, and then I realized that was a tic, and so yeah, but that's a very subtle one that you maybe wouldn't really notice, or you'd just be confused. Very different to how we are generally exposed to the idea of Tourette's.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And that's the thing. Just because you've got a tic doesn't mean that you've got Tourette's.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
I'll get into the exact what diagnoses you for Tourette's in just a second. First, I want to talk about premonitory sensations.
Oh yeah.
Which are most people with Tourette's basically experience this like I said, like the urge to cough, like a strong urge before a tic.
That's what that's called.
Yeah, so it's like well, yeah. So in Tourette's it's called that. So it's like in before you sneeze, before you cough, like an itch that you need to scratch.
I didn't know it had a name. I always would just say like, I would just hear it being described as like the urge to do something.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like premonitory sensations. And you can only get rid of that sort of like urge once the tic has been carried out.
Right.
So like that could be a burning feeling in your eyes before you blink, a dry or sore throat before you grunt, or an itchy joint or muscle before like you sort of jerk it.
And it's called premonitory.
Premonitory. Premonitory, like to monitor something.
Okay.
So some people can control their tics a little bit. So for a short time in sort of certain situations, you can maybe suppress a tic in the same way that you could probably suppress a cough or stop yourself from sneezing. So in the same way of suppressing a cough, you can't do it all the time. It can be really tiring. So you can have a sudden release after a day of trying to control them, or you couldn't, not be able to control them for too long because it really tires you out. But also tics might be less noticeable during certain activities, particularly when you're concentrating a lot. Apparently, when you're concentrating a lot, you're less likely to experience tics.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. There's no one test for Tourette's. You can have some tests and scans, like MRIs, to rule out other things. So what that basically means is it's not like you sit down, you go to the doctors. When you go to the doctors, you sit down and say, give me my Tourette's test. What they'll do is just eliminate a bunch of other conditions you might have until they're like, yes, it's Tourette's.
So is Tourette's like
the only thing remaining?
Is that like a catch-all for everything else that's not explained? Okay.
No, it's just that in order to diagnose Tourette's, you have to rule out other things. In that it can present similarly to different things.
Okay.
And there's no way because we don't know exactly what causes Tourette's. Specifically, and I looked around a lot for this, so I found it quite difficult to find anything that was that substantiated exactly what causes Tourette's, because we don't know what causes it specifically. It's very difficult to generate a test.
You can't test for it.
We just know that it isn't other things,
right?
Basically, well, in terms of if we know that all of the things that point to something else are not there, but the symptoms of Tourette's are still there, then you're like, okay, I guess it's Tourette's. Because we just don't know
safely assume.
Yeah, we don't know the mechanism that necessarily causes it. Yeah. So from the CDC, you have to have 2 or more motor tics, those are tics with movement, and at least 1 vocal tic, but they don't have to happen at the same time. You need to have had tics for at least a year. They can occur like a lot of times a day, or nearly every day, or off and on. It doesn't need to be consistent. it just needs to have happened for at least a year.
Mhm.
You need to have had tics that started before you were 18. So if you had tics that started like in your
okay.
mid-20s, you wouldn't be diagnosed with Tourette's in
Right.
America. So if you have symptoms that are not due to taking medicine or other drugs or having another medical condition, so seizures, Huntington's disease, or sort of brain swelling,
Mhm.
or like taking psychedelics or
Right.
something like that. If it's none of those, if it's none of those things, so if it's not due to those, then you will be diagnosed with Tourette's. So we're talking about the diagnosis, but what about treatment of Tourette's? There is a way to kind of treat it. There is no cure for Tourette's, but there are some treatments available. So you've got behavioral therapy and medication. Basically, those are the options. So behavioral therapy, it's usually given to you by a psychologist or a professionally trained specialist, like one that's specifically trained. Hold on, I just say it. Professionally trained specialist. What I meant to say was a specially trained therapist
Yes.
Yes, that makes sense.
who's specifically trained to help you with Tourette's. So the two types of behavioral therapy that have been shown to reduce tics are habit reversal training and exposure with response prevention.
Right. Exposure. Exposure to what?
So I don't know. Oh, no, I do know. So yeah, exposure. It's exposure to the tics. So you recreate the tics and you try and train yourself to tolerate the feeling.
Wow.
And then, sorry. You don't you don't expose yourself to the tics. You expose yourself to the urge to do the tics.
Right.
So it's like
Right.
trying to get you to tolerate the feeling of the urge so that you can then kind of tolerate it until the urge passes. And then you don't need to do the tic.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting.
It's like when you get a sneeze and you put it off for so long that you don't need to sneeze anymore.
Yeah, that's basically what that therapy is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's also habit reversal training, like I said. So that basically tries to work out the feelings that trigger tics. And then the next stage is to find an alternative, less noticeable way of relieving that urge.
So the tics can be triggered by things.
Supposedly.
Wow.
But I think it's a little more complex than just you see a red car
Sure.
and you need to
Ooh,
sneeze.
tick activated.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that with the sky though.
Engaged.
I look at the sky sometimes and I need to sneeze.
You're probably photosensitive, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Where you look at this, you see
Photic
sunlight.
sneezing.
That's it, photic sneezing. You see the sun and you need to sneeze because
Do
your brain's
you
silly.
see the sun and need to sneeze? Let us know because I do and I want to feel less alone.
You don't need to let us know.
Email us, sciGuysPod@gmail.com.
Do you guys?
I don't flutter emails with
Tell
people.
us in your review.
Just the
if
word
it's 5
yes or
stars.
no to SciGuysPod@gmail.com.
Why don't you instead leave a review saying yes
Yes.
to SciGuysPod?
Just
I
yes.
sneezed while listening to this. 5 stars.
Yeah, no, leave a review on Apple saying yes. That's all you need to do. 5 stars.
And
Saying
harass
yes.
Spotify
Yes.
to bring reviews into.
Well, if you actually look on Spotify, we're in the science.
We are
charts
in
on
the science
Spotify.
charts, yeah.
Yeah, so listen
Very
to us on
cool.
Spotify. Do that.
Very cool.
I say that you're already listening to us. So continue listening
And
wherever
our
you're listening.
statistics tell us that it might be on Spotify.
Actually, there's almost there's about a 40% chance you're listening to it on Spotify, I think.
Unless you're watching it.
So there's also medication. So some people's tics are helped with medication. This is again, this is kind of, I think if you think of it similarly to sort of anxiety or depression, wherein there's no blanket sort of this works for everyone. It could be a combination of medication and therapy. It could be one or the other, or you could go with neither because neither necessarily help your particular situation.
Do you happen to know what type of medication works for this? Like what it acts upon
I do.
from a neurotransmitter?
I do.
What?
Yes, I've got a whole bit.
Oh, how
Yeah.
exciting. I love this
Spoiling the
stuff.
episode again.
I love
Yeah,
this stuff.
spoiling it for everyone.
We did a whole conversation a couple of weeks ago about precursors for neurotransmitters, and there was someone in the comments like loving this chat about biological precursors. Hell yeah.
I do love, this is the thing, what I love is that every time we talk about something's going to be someone's favorite topic.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah.
You know? That's what's great about science. We'll all find our favorite topics.
Giving the individual people what they want.
Yeah.
One by one.
Yeah, this one's for you, Jerry.
Giving
If
the
there's a
person
Jerry
what
listening.
they want.
I wonder if a Jerry listens to us.
Oh, we should start.
If
we
you
should start
listen and your
thanking
name is
individual
Jerry?
people.
Yeah. Jerry.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thanks, Jerry.
For listening. Jerry.
If you are called Jerry, let us know.
Yeah.
SciGuysPod@gmail.com.
And we'll thank you there as well. Because thank you, Jerry. You keep this show running.
Thank you,
man.
Jerry.
Keep the show running.
Or
Jerry.
woman.
Thanks,
Or
Jerry.
neither.
Thanks, Jerry.
Or both. So the medication that people use, they're antipsychotics. So what they do is they modify the effect of dopamine on the brain, specifically by blocking the dopamine receptors, and in particular the D2 receptor. So dopamine has been strongly linked to Tourette syndrome, but and obviously the most useful medications for treating it interact with dopamine, but we still don't know exactly what causes it.
Right.
Yeah.
This is what I find so fascinating about medication is that you can figure out that something works without having any idea how it works or why it works.
Yeah, it's like when I change the oil in my car. I don't know how it works. I don't know what's happening.
Yes, but in the case where you change the oil in your car, you do assume somebody knows how it works and why it works. But in
I
this
don't know.
case, we just don't really know.
I don't
But it
assume that
does.
someone knows how it works. I assume someone just put oil in a car once and was like, "That's working."
That works.
Okay,
That works. Let's just roll with it.
I'm not going to ask any questions. That's actually I don't know any. I have no idea
Need
how
to know
my
basis.
I have no idea how my car works. I just press button, it goes.
It just goes.
Yeah, so your brain is basically the car in this sense, and the oil is the antipsychotics. We don't know the exact. Obviously, we know how the antipsychotics work, but we don't know exactly how they help in the treatment of Tourette's. So these drugs are usually used for conditions like schizophrenia, but obviously they help manage non-psychotic conditions as well. So that's the thing. These are antipsychotic drugs. That doesn't mean that you're psychotic if you have Tourette's. Not at all.
Sure.
Right.
They can be used for different things. They're called antipsychotics because that was their primary use. So yeah, obviously, as with most medications, these can have side effects. So again, like I said, they might not work for everyone, but you can split the antipsychotic drugs into like different generations. So the first generation, the first medication used to treat tics was haloperidol.
Right.
So that's used less often now because there's quite a high risk of side effects. So some of those side effects are like sudden stiffness, prolonged muscle contraction, shaking and restlessness. You can stop these these side effects when you stop taking the medication, but it's kind of like a choice between, do I want to have a tic or do I want to be shaking or have sudden stiffness in my joints, you know? So that was the first generation. We've kind of stopped using that. The second generation, those can cause metabolic syndrome, which basically is weight gain, abnormal glucose and lipid metabolism. Lipids are just fat. So basically, you digest sugars and fats slightly differently. You can gain weight.
Yeah.
It can lead to high blood pressure, diabetes, and affecting your liver if you're it's not paid attention to. So that obviously not a desirable side effect for some people.
No.
And then we've got third generation antipsychotics, and those can still cause weight gain, but they're less likely to cause weight gain, and less likely to cause other neurological and heart related side effects. So they are a lot better, but they can also cause insomnia, drowsiness, fatigue, nausea, and headaches.
This sounds like one of those American drug adverts where it's like,
All the side
try
effects listed.
this thing for your sleep. Ask your doctor to prescribe it. Side effects include
Internal
dying
bleeding.
and weeing yourself and all these horrible
Watch
things.
Psy Guys. Ask your doctor if Psy Guys is right for you. Warning: can cause drowsiness, fatigue, death, bleeding, death, bleeding, and death.
Lovely.
Literally,
Hemorrhaging.
it's awful. It's like it's the list of side effects that they list for some of these
Yeah.
things. It's just
It's longer
It's a
than
bigger
the
problem than
advert.
the problem you started with.
yeah. It's like, take this for drowsiness. May cause drowsiness.
I had
They put you in a coma.
antidepressants once where the side effect was depression.
Yeah, I had that too.
Yeah.
So this is the issue with antidepressants. They can cause an increase
Yeah.
in your symptoms.
Oh, they did.
Oh boy, yeah. That's the thing as well. Antidepressants, if they're I think a specific kind of antidepressants, you've got to wait for them to build up in your system.
Yeah.
So the first 2 weeks to a month can be hell while your body's just trying to adjust. And then also coming off them or changing your dose is like, you need to do that gradually as well. If you just suddenly stop, you basically get it's basically like getting withdrawal symptoms. It's awful. It's horrible.
What?
It happened to me, and I ended up in a tree on James's birthday.
Oh, you did end up in a tree. I had to come find you on my birthday.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That was fun. No, it was fun. It was a fun time.
I remember that.
I feel like that defeats the purpose, though.
What, getting up? Oh, right.
No, not getting up a tree.
Getting up a tree.
No, it's like if there's a fire and someone gives you some liquid and it's like, this will put out the fire. A possible side effect is that it causes an explosion.
Yeah. 50-50, it's going to blow up.
It could put out the fire.
Yeah. I mean, you got to weigh the risks, the pros and the cons. I mean, I suppose if your condition is really severe, it's worth the risk.
Yeah.
But yeah, they don't necessarily work for everyone. There are other non-antipsychotic drugs that you can use for it, but those also have side effects of fatigue, nausea, depression, insomnia. This is the thing. Fatigue and insomnia seem like having both of those is really rubbish, right? Because one of them is I have no energy, and the other one is I can't sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's both sides.
The only thing you need is sleep, but you can't get it.
I can't get it. Yeah.
That's awful.
Yeah. So yeah, like there are some side effects with these drugs, but obviously they can help. There's another one called clonidine, which works on a different chemical system to dopamine by stimulating the adrenaline receptors in the brain. So clonidine can be used to treat tics, but it can also be used to treat ADHD, and that's the interesting thing. ADHD is actually kind of comorbid with Tourette's. So you see an increased sort of rate of ADHD in people with Tourette's, which is quite interesting. I think.
I think, and I do not quote me on this, but I think ADHD medication also works on dopamine. So that's interesting that there's something going on in that system that's causing.
Yeah. It's interesting to see. It's interesting looking at what sort of things are comorbid with other things, because obviously, if you look at autism, a lot of people with autism they can have higher risk of having ADHD. I say risk. They can have a higher rate of having ADHD or depression or anxiety, things like that. I think it's always interesting to and potentially helpful to look at the different things that come along with certain disorders. You know, not that autism is a disorder, by the way. I want to be 100% clear on that. Autism isn't disordered. No one try and take those words out of context. But yeah, so you can use ADHD medication to treat tics as well. It's also used for migraines. So there's a lot of different things that they use to treat tics, but none of them are specifically medication for Tourette syndrome. They're all kind of other medications that are used to treat it, which I think is quite interesting, because we really don't understand.
Shows how little we've managed to be able to pinpoint exactly what's going on there.
Yeah, in the 115, 120, 35 years that we've known about it.
And 200 million Americans having it.
200 million?
200,000. 200,000. Not, sorry. 2/3 of America does not have Tourette's.
Maybe they do. We can't define it.
200,000.
That's a lot of Americans.
Sorry. Imagine if you went to America and you get off the plane and it turns out 2/3 of the people you meet had Tourette's.
Very mild, right? We just don't see any of the tics. That's the thing.
And just to find any impulse ever, an impulse buy is Tourette's.
Americans would do that, wouldn't they?
Yeah,
they would do that. Yeah, absolutely, they would do that. That's the equivalent of being like, "Oh yeah, I like to keep my bedroom ordered. I've got so OCD." Don't use.
Suddenly everyone has OCD.
Yeah, OC or maybe just O, but the D is important here.
Yes,
the D is important. The disorder is important in those definitions. You can't just say, "Oh, I'm so OCD." Like, these are actual disorders that people deal with. You know. Yeah. So, what causes Tourette's? We need to find the answer now.
The brain.
People are counting on us, man.
Go on, Luke. What's your theory?
I don't have a theory on this.
My theory is the brain.
I agree.
My theory
I'm going to vote
goes.
with James. The brain.
The brain. Yeah, the brain probably.
Hey.
So it's an autosomal dominant disorder. So autosomal means that both males and females are affected, and dominant means that you only need one copy of the gene to have the condition. So basically, we're pretty sure it's not on the X chromosome or the Y chromosome. It's not on the X chromosome.
Right.
So it's on one of the other chromosomes. It can affect both men and women, or males and females. And it's dominant. But this is the thing, interestingly. It doesn't just because you have the gene doesn't mean that you will have Tourette's. It's not necessarily it's not. Even though it's dominant, you only need one copy of the gene to have the disorder. It doesn't guarantee that you will have the disorder. If that makes sense.
So it's like not activated, or
so it's called incomplete penetrance, which basically means that you've only got a 70% chance. It's basically just not necessarily. Yeah, it might not be expressed, or it might not have that effect because bear in mind it's a little more complex than just having like connected or disconnected earlobes, you know? It's a little bit more complex than something like that because obviously it's neurological. There's a lot going on in the brain.
Sure.
So there could be other things at play. So like I mean that's only with sort of genetic causes of Tourette's. There are instances of Tourette's that are associated with non-genetic sort of factors in 10 to 15% of kids. So that could be like complications in pregnancy, low birth weight, head trauma, carbon monoxide poisoning, and other things like that. So those would be non-genetic factors. So it just because you have the gene doesn't mean that you will have the disorder.
And just
but also
you don't have the gene.
not having the gene doesn't mean that you won't have the disorder.
And those are the same disorder, are they?
Yeah.
So, wow.
Yeah.
How do we know they're the same disorder if we don't know what the disorder is?
Bear in mind, the disorder is one of those things that is defined by its symptoms, in that you need to be diagnosed with it. You need to have a specific number of tics for a specific amount of time.
These other things that they test for, and so they may be the same manifestation of two different things going on, or 100 different things going on.
This is the thing. I think it's similar to how we described gayness. It's similar to, say, autism, or anything that we don't necessarily understand how, anything that's sort of like neurological or mental, or really to do with the brain and like perception, understanding, and things, the way that the brain works. A lot of the time it could just be a grouping of things that have similar outcomes but completely different inputs. So there could be a lot of different disorders, a lot of different like specific causes that result in this sort of Tourette's-esque group of symptoms. But we're just calling it all one thing right now. And really, until we figure out how it works, we won't know. Yeah,
it's a bit more convenient for now, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's the same with autism. Like, we don't have a specific sort of gene for autism that we know causes that. We don't know very much about exactly what causes people to be autistic. So it could be a lot of different things. It could be, and people that think they've got the same sort of like their brain working the same way might actually be due to completely different reasons. Like, we genuinely don't know. We have no way of knowing that until we figure out how it works, which is something we're trying to do, but we really don't know. Like I said, it's a dominant disorder with incomplete penetrance. So if a parent passes the gene on to a child, the child might not have symptoms of the disorder. If a daughter inherits the gene, there's a 70% chance that they'll have at least one of the signs of Tourette's. But if a son inherits the gene, there's a 99% chance that he'll have at least one of the signs of Tourette's.
Wow.
Yeah.
99.
Yeah, 99. Yeah, so it's more likely. But then that's at least one of the signs. So that's not necessarily
full.
Full. That's just So there's also something called variable expressivity, which means that they can have differences in expression of the gene in different people. So one person with Tourette's disorder might have obsessive compulsive disorder, while another has a chronic tic disorder, and while another one has full-blown Tourette's disorder. That's another thing. Obsessive compulsive disorder, OCD, is kind of linked to Tourette's in some way. Like they're just kind of similar disorders to it to an extent.
I read something recently. I must admit, I kind of briefly scanned it, but there was some article somewhere that was talking about how mental health conditions, which I know Tourette's isn't a mental health condition, but it has links with other things. Is Tourette's a mental health condition, or is it?
It's neurological.
Okay, but it was talking about how conditions in the brain can kind of morph into other conditions, and that's kind of what you're alluding to there. No.
Well, okay, so it's less morphing into other conditions. Again, it's more presenting as something similar but different. Because one of it, if you take the sort of compulsions of Tourette's, you can see how that's similar to OCD, and OCD being a kind of form of anxiety where someone has unreasonable thoughts, fears, or worries, which are obsessions, and they try and manage those obsessions through ritualized activities, compulsions, to reduce that anxiety. You can see how a sort of compulsion can be similar to a tic, in that sense. So this is the thing. Males are more likely with the gene are more likely to have full blown Tourette's disorder, whereas females are more likely to have anxiety or OCD,
right,
if they have that gene, which is interesting. So I think it's clearly got something to do with sort of that center of the brain that deals with sort of compulsions. Clearly, it just presents itself differently. So clearly, there's a gene that there will be a gene that affects some part of the brain, and it can affect it to different extents. And to a lesser extent, let's say, or to one extent, it can affect you so that you have OCD, and to a different extent, it can affect you to have Tourette's, because they're all sort of linked in where they come from. It's not necessarily like one thing morphing into another, so much as they all come from a similar place. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
It's like if you're climbing a tree, you can decide to go down one branch or another branch, and it'll take you to different places despite the fact that you've climbed up the same tree. Yeah,
I did indeed climb a tree.
So I found a study actually that looked at about 49 people with Tourette's and 28 control people that didn't have Tourette's. And what they found is basically that if you scan the brains of the people with Tourette's, they have a slightly different size of some parts of their brain. So the white matter, the white matter in their brain is slightly different. Now, white matter is effectively it makes up half the brain, and it's what is below the gray matter cortex. So it's basically bundles of axons, which are nerve fibers that connect neurons in different regions of the brain to functional circuits. So it's called white matter because of the sort of myelin sheath that's around it, which is basically fat, effectively like insulation. So that's effectively what white matter is. It's kind of a connection, the bit that connects different parts of your brain, I guess. Yeah. So if you look at the brains of people with Tourette syndrome compared to people with control subjects, they've actually got differences in the white matter in their brain. It seems to be, I think there's abnormalities in that it's sort of it's less developed, or it's underdeveloped, or it doesn't necessarily connect in the way that neurotypical brains would.
Right.
Yes.
So that's between centers of the brain, is it?
Yeah. So it's between different parts of the brain. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Which is really interesting. But then this is a really small study, and it didn't come to any solid conclusions. They basically just said, they pointed at something and said,
That's different. Yeah.
That's different. That difference could literally just be in those 48 people.
Yeah.
It could be amongst everyone with Tourette's. It could be nothing. It's difficult to know. I think we have basically kind of, we do think it is something to do with the white matter in the brain, but again, there's nothing absolutely conclusive saying this is exactly what it is. And I really looked for a lot of studies, and this was one of the sort of best ones that I could find that had some idea of what it might be, what it might be due to. So it's really difficult to figure out. There's also environmental factors that play. I just want to point out because in a previous video when we were talking about environmental factors, someone seemed to think that environmental factors meant the media and television. The media and television are not what we mean when we talk about environmental factors in relation to genetics and biology. No, environmental factors are anything that aren't your genes, basically. So,
does that include the media? The media aren't my genes.
Yes.
Or are they?
Could be drugs and things, like drugs and other interactions like that.
Things that enter your body from the environment.
Yeah, well, things that aren't there due to solely your genes.
Yeah.
Basically anything that interacts with you in your environment.
Like the media.
Yes, like the media. Do you want me to tell you why I'm bringing this up? Because you're going to feel really bad for being on the media side with this one.
I'm not on the media side.
No. Yeah, you realize that the reason I brought this up, Luke, is because someone in response to our gay gene video replied, you see at the end, he's fooled himself. He said it could be due to environmental factors. It's the media and schools that are poisoning people and making them gay, not their
Right.
genetics.
Right.
Yes.
So okay.
This person seems to think that environmental factors means the media in your school. Doesn't just mean the
Right.
media in your school. It means anything that isn't your genetics.
So he's basically looking at the rise in coverage of gay rights things and generally the normalization of being gay, and it's going, that's turning more people gay.
Yeah, they seem to think that I'd managed to talk myself into a trap.
Theory. Right.
Yeah.
One environmental factor.
No, I want to be clear. Environmental factors
one.
don't mean they don't mean that.
They do. They
No.
also mean other things.
They don't mean solely that.
Right. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, no. Hold on. Here's the thing. Again, if you read environmental factors, I can guarantee you that environmental factors are not schools and the media. Okay, I can bet you that 99% of the time, if you were reading a scientific paper and it says environmental factors, it will not be due to the school and media.
I.e., the media.
Like that's not the avenue that they're going down. So environmental factors, as I said, they're environmental
Like
factors.
school.
And the media, don't forget.
Sorry, yes, and the media.
Environmental.
But hang on, we're the media. We're doing a podcast.
We're not the media. Are we the
True.
media?
We are the media in a broad sense, yes.
Oh, I don't like that.
So we're turning people gay and giving them Tourette's.
But I'm against
That's what
the
you're
me-
saying.
but
We
I'm
are
against
your
the media.
environmental factor.
You're against the media.
I'm against
You're
the
against
media.
yourself there, buddy.
Oh, I've been against myself.
Fancy us.
I've been against myself since I was 14, and I'm still against myself.
But yeah, genetics are not necessarily the only cause of Tourette's. Other causes could be environmental, as I've said. So basically, as the brain is developing, outside causes could influence the risk of developing tics. So a big study followed over 600. Not 600,000. It followed over 6,000 pregnant
This is
women.
like me when I said 200 million people in America have Tourette's.
More or less.
Once they've listened to our podcast, 200,000 people in America will have Tourette's.
Yeah, that's true.
Because we're influencing
because
them.
we're the media.
And we're influencing them to have Tourette's.
Environmental factors, including the SCI GUYS podcast.
Oh gosh. So yeah. So a big study which followed over 6,000 pregnant mothers, and it was pregnant mothers that they studied in this, not pregnant people, specifically pregnant mothers. So this study, they looked at the mothers and their children over time, found that the strongest risk factor was inadequate weight gain of the mother during pregnancy, but not low birth weight or prematurity of the baby. And on top of that, the use of cannabis and alcohol during pregnancy. And also whether the child was the firstborn or not was also associated with a higher risk of developing Tourette's. So there are some environmental factors, namely drug and alcohol use, or like weight gain of the mother during pregnancy. So
Weight gain on the mother. I thought you said inadequate weight gain.
yes, so the weight gain of the
lack
mother.
of weight gain.
Yeah, so the weight gain of the mother is a risk, is an environmental risk factor if it's too low.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And so and when you say whether it was the firstborn or not, is the firstborn more likely to have Tourette's or less likely to have Tourette's?
I'm not sure. I think the firstborn, the child being the firstborn was associated with a higher risk of developing Tourette's.
Right, that's fascinating. So if you're the firstborn, you're more likely to have Tourette's, but you're less likely to be gay. And if you're born later, you're less likely to have Tourette's, and you're more likely to be gay.
Poor middle child.
Pick your
man.
poison.
More middle child has both.
Middle child's got both. Everything happens to that middle
Gay
child.
with Tourette's.
Not that there's anything wrong with being gay or
No,
having Tourette's.
we do have to say.
There's nothing
nothing
wrong with it. So another risk factor for Tourette's is also infection. People have noticed that apparently people with Tourette's have worse tics while they're infected.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're infected with streptococcus, which is kind of bacteria, you apparently that's something that they're looking at right now. That's something that they're interested in. It's really difficult to prove that having a streptococcus infection as a child influences Tourette's, because it's really common for kids to have that infection.
Right.
But apparently they've noticed some kind of link potentially between those two. But yeah, we don't really know what causes Tourette's. And when I say we don't really know, it's not just a we at SCI Guys don't really know. It's a we as the world. We just don't know.
Humanity.
It's another we just don't know. But that is Tourette's syndrome. It's the A to Z of Tourette's. Thank you for watching. You can find the full references for this episode in the description. Subscribe for new episodes every Sunday, and why not leave us a nice wee comment? You can support the pod at patreon.com/SciGuys, or you can find and contact us at SciGuysPod on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, or you can send us an email at SciGuysPod@gmail.com. I am not Corey everywhere.
I am John Ken everywhere.